is very long because I wasn't willing, right? 6 and 7 step is about willingness and action. And I wasn't willing to do anything. I went to a million rehabs and detoxes, recovery houses. Like, I've done it all. And I always share that with people. I've done it all. You know, I have 14 years. I just celebrated 14 years on January 3rd. And I have not found a reason or an excuse or anything to use ever again, just for today, you know. I'm gonna start from the beginning. You know, I was raised Catholic. I was raised in a very abusive household. I'm the middle of 5 children. I always knew something was wrong with me because I never felt a part of or even secure in my own body. I always felt like I was different or I needed to be somewhere else than inside my family. So I always knew like there was something not right with me. You know, many times people said like, you have a problem, you need help. And I'd be like, you're the problem, not me. I got this. And I lived off of, so the 6th step is about your defects of character. And like, I'm here to say, like, when I got here, I didn't think I had any defects. I didn't think I had none. I thought I was great, you know. I thought everybody else was the problem, and I was the victim. Like, it was everybody else's fault but mine. And, you know, it took a lot of work for me to not be a victim anymore. Because I learned how to manipulate, lie, and all that when I was a little girl. You know, if my dad said, hey, did you do that? I'd be like, nope, even though I knew I did it. And so I carried those traits with me through all my using and all my adult life. And I used those traits as like a defense mechanism. You know what I mean? I was the type of person, like, I'm gonna hurt you before you hurt me. I was the type of person, you know, like, if I could manipulate out of anything. I was a liar, a cheat, a thief, all that stuff. You know, and like I had been in and out of the rooms for a really long time because, like I said, I wasn't willing to do anything. I would like look at the step work and be like, that's not for me. I don't need to do that. I would watch other people like living their life, and I'm like, that's never gonna happen for me. Like, I'm gonna die like as a drug addict, and I'm okay with that. Like, I can remember, like, you know, thinking that, like, my whole life. Like, I was okay with the fact that I had this disease, and I knew nothing was ever going to help me or save me. And I didn't have a God in my life because I thought God had abandoned me. I thought God had let me down. I thought he cursed me. I thought he punished me because that's the God I grew up with. Like, all the commandments, I broke every single one. You know, so I thought I was going to hell, and like I remember like believing like it was okay, like I was okay with that. Like that was my destination, that was what was going to happen, and I was okay with that. And I never believed that I would have the life that I have today, like ever. Like if you would have told me 14 years ago that I'd be standing up on a stage for the Firm Foundation, I'd be like, you're out of your freaking mind. I didn't curse, Zach. You know, I'm honored. Thank you for asking me to speak. I have been coming to your recovery stuff since you guys started. You know, I've been a part of. I haven't really, you know, whatever. I show up. Because that's what I was taught to do. Like, you just show up. You know, you have to be willing. And, you know, I'm just going to, like, fast forward. You know, I had kids, you know, when I was using, and I gave my children away. Willingly. That's when I was willing. And I just did anything and everything, man. Like, I lived my life on the edge. I lived my life like it was, you know, the last day. Like, I didn't care what tomorrow was going to bring. I never thought that I had a purpose, like, ever. Like, I never thought I had a purpose. I thought my purpose was just to live the way I was living, and that was it. And, you know, like I said, this recovery process is very long for me. I was 17 when I came in, and I was 32 when I finally surrendered, because you have to surrender. And I learned that, you know, you have to surrender. And like, I surrender still every day. I don't care how much time I have. I don't care how much recovery work I've put in. Like, I still have to surrender to myself. Because I heard somebody say earlier, like, I'm my own worst critic still. Like, I will still tell, like, even tonight, like, I was so nervous to be here because I don't really like speaking in a microphone. And I'm not an attention seeker anymore. Like, I don't need the world to, like, look at me and be like, hey, you know, I'm okay with who I am today. I'm okay that, that the changes that I've made in my life, because I made them all for the right reasons. And I really believe 6 and 7, you can't do that without 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, So my first step is you had to surrender, right? And admit that you're powerless and that you can't do this by yourself. I hadn't found a higher power yet. I wasn't ready for that. I really was like, God, I'm good. I don't need that. And I still felt like I had control. I still felt like I could control my whole life, and quickly realized that that wasn't true, because any decisions that I made within my first couple of years were not were not good. So I had to find a higher power, and I do choose to call my higher power God today. And it took me a long time to get there. I was the type of person, I'm in a fellowship. I'm not going to talk about it because I believe this is not where we're at. But I'm in a fellowship where, they said you can make your higher power whatever you want. Just think if it's something greater than yourself. And I used the rooms. I used my fellowship as my higher power for a long time, because the women in my life, they really held me up, and they loved me until I learned how to love myself. And they taught me, how to be a woman, how to be a mother, how to be this, how to, everything. I owe my whole life, to the women in my beginning. And then there was eventually where all those women weren't around anymore. They had different lives, and when we come into recovery, we get a life, and responsibilities. I got my children back, who I abandoned, to use when I was 6 months in recovery. And I didn't know what I was doing. And I can remember the time when I really started believing in my God was I had 6 years clean, and I wanted to use, I really, really wanted to use, I was back in the fetal position. And I remember somebody had told me there's going to be a time where it's just going to be you and your God. And what are you going to do, right? And I experienced this at 6 years clean. I went through a horrible divorce, and I didn't know what to do with my life. My identity was gone again, because my identity and my higher power was my husband at the time. And I remember calling my support network and calling my sponsor, and nobody answered the phone. Nobody answered the phone. And I was like, all right, here we go. Let me get on my knees finally, and let me just ask God to please, please don't let me leave this room tonight, and don't let me make this decision, and just carry me through tonight, and don't let me get high. And I didn't use. And I was like, well, maybe there's something with this. And I started seeing all the blessings in my life happen. It didn't happen right away for me. I still wanted to use for a really long time. It was still something that was my first thought when I woke up in the morning. But when I had that 6 years clean, I'd already done, some step work. And I think my first round of the step work that I just did it because I knew that if I didn't, I wouldn't get better, and because for years I hadn't done it. So I was like, maybe I need to do something different, like we talk about, right? Maybe I need to do something different and make a change. So when I came in on January 3rd, 2012, thank God, my last run, I made a decision. I made the decision that I was going to do whatever it took to stay clean, and I didn't care, and nobody was going to get in my way, and I did it. And I started my step work right away with my sponsor. And I remember when I asked her to be my sponsor, and I remember it so vividly like it was yesterday. I was in a meeting, and I heard this woman share, and I had decided I wasn't going back to rehab or detoxes or anything like that, because I had already done all that. I had exhausted all my state funds. I couldn't, I wasn't going to do that anymore and get on any type of program. I was like, I'm just going to go to where I know. And I walked in there, and I sat in the back, and I watched this woman share, and I really liked what she had to say. It resonated with me. Finally, I actually was open-minded to listen to what other people were saying, and I hadn't been closed-minded anymore, because I was always one of my biggest defects was I was so closed-minded. I just didn't think anything could happen for me because it happened for you. I really believed that. I was different, unique. And I had to put all those vices down, and I had to just surrender, and I had to allow some women and my sponsor to really help me. And that was really hard because, like I said, I'm a control freak. That's one of my defects. I know that's one of my defects. Self-centeredness is one of my defects. Playing the victim was a huge defect of mine, you know. It was everybody else's fault and not mine. And when I started doing the step work, I realized that I was the problem. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, no way, not me, I'm not a problem, I'm good. But no, I was the problem. I was the one that made all the decisions and the choices. You know, the drugs stopped me from anything that I could do. You know, I wasn't like the type of kid when I was in school that was like, I want to go to college and I want to do this. I was like the party girl. You know, I could outdo this and I could outdo that, and I could party like the rest of them, man, and I did that. And, you know, this time I was like, you know what, maybe I need to actually follow direction. And I did. I followed the direction, and, you know, I heard this woman share, and she went to the bathroom. Like, she left and walked into the bathroom, and I still get chills when I think about it, because she died as a direct result of this disease when I had 2 years clean. But I followed this woman in the bathroom, and I got on my knees in front of her, and I said, please help me. I can't do this by myself anymore. That was really the day that I had surrendered. That was really the day that I made the decision. That was the day that, like, I felt like that monkey was off my back, everything was lifted, and I felt like I was going to be okay. Because I had never felt okay. I lived on the edge. I lived like something was going to happen. I was very paranoid at the world. I trusted nobody. I lived in fear my whole life, a fear of failure, fear of success, fear of this, fear of that. And like I ran with that. And like this time I was like, I got to let all those things down, and I just got to let somebody help me. And this woman helped me for 2 years, and we started step work right away. And I started like seeing things happening in my life, and I was like, wow, like maybe this is really the way you're supposed to do it, you know? And I finally believed in something greater than myself. I finally believed that for once I was going to be okay. And I live that life every day, man. You know, my defects don't define who I am, but I'm grateful for them, because I really think that I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for them. I really think that if I didn't find my God, because my God's not vengeful. My God doesn't judge me. My God doesn't punish me. My God doesn't do none of that. My God loves me right where I'm at. My God is a great God. Like, I really believe that he was always there, like I do, because I've been through a lot of stuff. Like, I should be dead 10 times over, and I'm not. And I believe that every situation and everything in my life that I did, I had somebody with me the whole entire time. You know, every decision that I ever made, I know I had somebody with me. And, like, I believe that wholeheartedly, because, like, even though I have 14 years, like, I still sometimes think about using. You know, sometimes my brain still, like, will tell me lies. And, like, sometimes I'll listen to them, and they're just, like, fleeting things, you know? And I just know that as long as I stay on the path that I'm at, and I don't question God's plan for me anymore. I plan for my future, but I plan for it accordingly, if that makes sense. You know, like I've raised my children, you know, they're now 21 and 22, and sometimes I still can't believe it, but they are productive members of society. They are nothing like I broke the cycle. We broke the cycle. Like my higher power has done more for me than I think anyone has ever done for me in my entire life. Like, I feel comfortable in my own skin today. You know, I don't know, man. Like, I just am eternally grateful, you know, that I found somewhere that I belong. You know, when I walk into a meeting, I feel that sense of peace that I've always wanted. I've been so, like, anxietied up my whole life, and now I have this, like, inner peace that, like, I love you where you're at. I don't judge people, you know. I went through a traumatic thing, like, a couple of years ago, and, you know, in my fellowship, and it was, you know, people judging me based off my humanness because I made some mistakes, you know, and it wasn't anything detrimental to my recovery process, but it was, you know, they couldn't handle that somebody with that much clean time could do the things that I did, and it wasn't anything bad or nothing like that. I mean, my friends know what it was, but, you know, I was gonna stop coming to meetings, and then I thought to myself, like, how dare I stop coming to somewhere that saved my life? Like, literally picked me up out of the gutter and saved my life and gave me my children back. Like, my children have never seen me get high. My children have never, you know, got to see that side of me. Like, they depend on me today. Like, when I say I'm going to be there, like, I'm going to be there. You know, I was the mom that, like, I was the mom that, I was the absentee mom. Like, I was the mom that said she would show up, but I couldn't put a pipe down. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but I couldn't. I was the mom that promised to be there, and I couldn't be there, because my using was so bad, and I just wasn't there yet. Like, my brain wasn't there. My heart was always there, but like my brain, I couldn't get it to match with my heart. I love my children. I love all of my children. And I'm grateful that they don't ever have to see me the way that I was. I'm grateful that I have been restored to sanity, that I don't, I don't know, like, I always say, and I'm going to say this, like, I've been programmed, and I'm okay with that, because I'm not the same person that I was 14 years ago and some months ago, I have truly put the work in. I don't just sit around and hang out. I do the work. Like, I just finished my 6th step. That's why when you said it was a 6th and 7th step, and I called my sponsor, she's like, this is perfect for you. I was like, that's great. I just finished my third round of I'm on step 6 for the 3rd time, and it's just different, man. I still have these defects. The ones that I thought that I've humbly asked to be removed, they still pop up. I can still be arrogant. I can still be self-centered. I can still be envious. I can still be all those things. But the good news is that I know I'm not doing it alone, and I know that my higher power is with me, and I know that I can get through anything as long as I really believe. Like, my heart now matches with my brain. When I say what I say it. I say it with conviction. I say it because I believe it. I don't just say it to say it. I'm a woman in recovery, and I help a lot of people. And I don't do that for myself. I do that because it was freely given to me. Like, the recovery process is free, and I just love I just love my program. I just love the people in it. My life is so full. I mean, all the things that I have done in the last 14 years, I still am completely baffled by, because, I've been in the same career for 11 years. I could never hold a job. The same career for 11 years, and I just advanced last year. I just got a promotion because I asked for it, because I wasn't afraid. Like, I act on faith today, not fear. Fear doesn't run my life. I have gone through so many things in this process, and it's all through faith that I'm able to stand up here today. It's all because of relying on something bigger than myself. It's all because I do the work, and I don't just do it to say I do it. Like, I do it. I mean, I've been in step work where I'm like, oh my God, it just, everything, I try not to really dwell on my past too much, because it's my past. And I do believe, and I said this earlier, it's made me who I am today. I believe that I am the woman that I am standing here because of the things that I went through. I believe that, that my higher power guides me every day, even at work, in situations that I have at work sometimes, my first thought sometimes is to beat somebody up if they act crazy in front of me, but now I'm able to walk away from it. And that's because of the program. That's because of recovery. The old Jen wouldn't have done that. The old Jen would have been left in handcuffs and probably lost her job because she was acting out of character. And I love, I love who I am today. I don't just say it. I love who I am today. I love that everything is an experience and everything is a learning experience, and that no matter what, I don't have to get high. No matter what, I don't have to act on that defect. I can actually sit back and think about it, and even call people. I still call people and ask them for direction and ask them for suggestions, because sometimes my thoughts is I don't, even though I know, and I feel it in my heart or my gut that it's not the right thing to do, I still question if it is the right thing to do. And, I was apprehensive about speaking here, but not because of anything else, but I have 14 years clean in a fellowship that I love with all my heart, and I believe in that fellowship, and I had a little bit of convictions, because sometimes my brain's they don't want to hear what you have to say about what you did. Like, even in meetings when I speak at, when I speak there, my brain will be like, shut up. They don't want to hear what you have to say anymore. You've said enough. Like, you keep talking. But honestly, every time I share, I have somebody come up to me and say, oh my God, I loved your story. No matter how crazy I think it sounds in my head, I always have people come up to me and say, will you sponsor me? I'm like, did you not hear what I just said? And that's not me, man. I really believe that that's God. I really believe that that's my higher power directing me to help somebody else, directing me to help somebody else and to get outside of myself. And that's what I do. I believe in doing things for the right reason. I believe that, no matter what happens in my life, I don't have to get high. And I believe that it's just a beautiful process, like it's just a beautiful process. I was talking to somebody before here, and I was like, I don't know what to say. Hopefully I gave a good message. I'm usually a lot more darker, and I was trying not to curse. I told Zach, I was like, I hope I don't curse because I don't want to disrespect anybody. But I love this. I love this. I love what you guys do for the recovery community, because there's a lot of people out there that need stuff like this. There's a lot of people that are suffering and are still struggling. And I know that we can't save everybody, but at least if we save one person in a room, that's a blessing. That's a huge blessing. And is that enough time? I think I'm done. Thank you.